I'm Mark Greubel. I'm the head coach for Waco Team USA Kickboxing, and I've trained multiple world champions.
I'm Sergio Cunha, mixed martial arts coach. I coached 14 UFC world champions and 5 UFC Hall of Famers.
Welcome back, guys. Another episode of the Double Jab Podcast. We're here with Katel Kubis. He is currently the head Muay Thai trainer at American Top Team. Katel, welcome, man. How's it going?
My pleasure, Mark. Thank Mark for the opportunity to talk about my career. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Good to have him, right?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, for sure.
I thought you he was 38 years old.
I know.
I'm surprised. We're not gonna say how old he is, but he looks good, right?
That's right.
Katel is a guy one of the pioneers.
Yeah.
And Muay Thai in Brazil too, pioneer in MMA in Vale Tudo. Katel fought Vale Tudo. No gloves too,
Yeah.
I'm glad to know this guy and see, all the way he built his life to be like one of the greatest coach of today.
Nice. So you were one of the first group of Brazilians that actually went over to Thailand to train in Thailand in Muay Thai. Is that correct?
Well, Mark, that's a huge opportunity I had from my coach in Brazil, the Grandmaster Fabio Noguchi. That time in 1999, he was in contact with Vortex. Muay Thai camp is around the Bangkok city. Is in Bangkok. And 1999, I was working as a security, like bodyguard. Was teaching a class for fighters, for students, but I was fighting that day, and I saved the money to do this travel to Thailand, and that was amazing because when I went there, I realized how I can make my life around the sports, And then I have the opportunity to train with Thai guys. I had the opportunity to fight there and to learn the culture. And it's about the fight I was like born in Curitiba. That means I was ready for everything.
That's funny.
Great times. I born in Curitiba too. I know what you mean.
Yeah. And then, like Kona is the generation before me. Então I grew up looking over, watching his fights.
Hey. Don't tell my age. Don't.
You look so good, Kona.
I wish.
And that experience to train, to fight in Thailand was like life changing. I had 19 to 20 years old, and I was very young, but that time we grew up very fast because when you train with high level guys, when you have a coach like Fabio Noguchi, he make you decide what you want to do for your life, And that experience in Thailand definitely change my life, change my mind, and then I become a professional. That's my life from there.
I've had the opportunity. I'm sure you guys have both the same thing. Get to travel all around the world. I didn't realize how. What is it? Let me use the right word here. How fortunate American martial arts students are, because I've gone to several other countries and they, like, let's say they have these amazing world champions and I'm expecting this huge mega gym, right? No,
small.
It's a small,
tiny
little gym, maybe concrete floor, like,
right.
not a lot of extravagant equipment or anything like that. So it's really interesting. It made a really big impression on me. You know, I went to England one time, and they were cranking out a bunch of world champion. This was for full contact rules kickboxing, but they were cranking out a bunch of world champions out of this little gym. And I went there, and it was tiny, man.
Yeah.
It was like the size of like maybe our waiting room here, you know. But it was
Crazy, right?
yeah, it was really humbling to be able to see a lot of that stuff. Australia, I saw some really small gyms that also produce some really good fighters, and I'm sure Thailand. Holy crap, they're like training in the rain,
Yeah.
on the dirt.
Yeah, for us too, Mark.
Yeah.
If you think about Katel say about Curitiba, when we start,
Yeah.
our academies was tiny, small.
Right.
Small academies. Sometimes we had like, 7, 8 fighters, but we have one bag,
Yeah.
one heavy bag.
Holy smokes.
You need to wait for your turn to hit the bag.
Wow.
You know?
At the same time, Mark.
Yeah.
At the same time, like gloves, boxing gloves was very rare, like very rare to have a boxing glove. You have to share with the other partners.
Yeah. Shin guards. Hey, no, exactly, no shin guards at all.
I took a team from USA down to Trinidad one time, and it really made a big impression on me. Like all of the U.S. guys, we all had our own hand wraps, we had our own gear, had our own gloves, but the fighters from Trinidad, they took their hand wraps off of the previous guy who fought
To borrow
to
from another
borrow
guy.
his sweaty
Yeah,
hand wraps and their cups, and I was like, holy cow, man!
Really, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean,
really,
I
it's a
think-
shocker, right?
Yeah, I've never seen it here in America. Like everyone has their own stuff, and it just goes to show how fortunate we are.
Exactly,
You know,
yeah.
so
But
Yeah.
but the same, in my I remember when went to Thailand, no gears in Thailand.
Mm.
That means we have been doing the right things. We train with the body, no protection, but that's how developers champions. When they have the struggles, but they have the patience.
Sure.
Patience to do that, like
To keep going, right?
to be good.
Stop.
And the same thing, the same time, Cunha, do you remember? Everybody was good on the boxing. Everybody was kicking very well. Everybody was doing clinching. Not clinch like Cunha, but everybody know clinch.
Why my clinch? What is that?
Yeah.
My clinch was too bad.
No, Cunha has the king of the clinch in Curitiba. He's the king of the clinch in Curitiba. Definitely, it was
Golden
one
days.
of his.
No, have a song about that. Bruce Springsteen. Glory days.
And then when I went to Thailand, I just have opportunity to make sure what we have doing in Curitiba was the right way. Like my coach, I show in Thailand that 1999, my coach fight Noguchi. That's the reason I started to fight to train Muay Thai, because before Muay Thai I was doing capoeira.
Mm.
I never knew that.
That's an
I
interesting
never knew that.
Because I'm from Curitiba and it has some place called São Brás. I'm not sure how can I say here in English, but bairro São Brás.
Like area, like area, like you have Evans, Martinez.
Right, okay,
It's
like a neighborhood.
A neighborhood.
Their neighborhood, yep. And the city made the program for like the poor people. They offer some kind of sport, some kind of opportunity to study, and then I was doing that part of the project. And I was doing capoeira for 3 years.
Okay.
But I have my old friend, my old brother, and my old brother that time he already trained Muay Thai, and he showed me the difference between Muay Thai and capoeira. And he showed me the
This guy, his older brother was a nice guy. His brother bring him to to Muay Thai. It was great. Yeah.
and he brought me to watch Noguchi's fight. Noguchi fight. Let's watch. That was 1989, and I saw the first time. I saw somebody doing like kind of dancing before fight. And why I say that? Because when I was in Thailand, I showed this video, and the Thai people they get surprised because that's very traditional on Muay Thai.
Right.
Mhm.
Before the fights, they do like Muay, and that means the preparation to fight.
Mhm.
And they say they feel very surprised to see the traditional Muay Thai, the right Muay Thai in Brazil.
That in 90s, right? In the end of 90s,
Mm.
right? So we don't have much, we don't have the technology we have today, no, right? No, just VHS tapes,
Right.
That's why they got surprised to see, his former coach already doing this years ago. Wow, right?
Wow.
And that means a lot to them because they start to give more attention to us. They say they really wanted to learn the real Muay Thai. It was good and bad same
Yeah,
time because that
there's a
means they
lot of
push us a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, growing up and going through the whole kickboxing ranks, I've noticed some very symbolic differences in kickboxing. Like in kickboxing, a lot of guys they go under the rope. In Muay Thai, you always have to step over the rope.
Yeah.
Those little cultural differences, they mean a lot to a purist who is like pure Muay Thai. Like you never go through the ropes; you're always
Yeah,
stepping over.
and
The
you
rope.
walk inside the ring all the
Right.
way around, holding the hope. Yeah, this is
Right.
all important. But he come back, Cartel.
And
Sorry, Cartel come back with a different concept.
Mm-hmm.
Not just about the clinch and knees, what we was doing already, but using more elbows,
Mm-hmm.
like a real pure. It was pure Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And this helps a lot all this generation, next generation, to go ahead for pure Muay Thai. He
Yeah.
was doing Muay Thai, but when he come back and he was traveling back and forth to Thailand, he goes first time, maybe him one more guy.
Mm-hmm.
After 3 times, it was going him and more 3 guys.
Nice.
So always when they come back with another information, new stuff, new technique, new ways to train. And they put this on fights because when they come back from Thailand to our hometown, they fight in our hometown.
Yeah.
And you could see the difference. Like, wow, look what they bring it.
Right.
They bring a new stuff.
Yeah, that's very
and
cool.
that new stuff was important as well. So much for these future superstars as Pelé Landi, Anderson Silva, Vanderlei Silva,
Right.
because Catel was one of our teammates for the big fights, for our camps on Shooter Box. Because in some moment, our schools, Shooter Box and Noguchi was from Shooter Box too. Well, he went to open his own academy in good terms, everybody friends forever, no problem. And Catel come to train with us.
Yeah.
And he was like one of the main, teammates for those guys.
Right.
Of course, you Anderson Silva, you Pelé Landi, and you train with this guy who's fresh from travels back and forth to Thailand with new stuff.
Yeah.
You trade some information during the training,
sure, for
and
sure.
that, this is something he did so well. It helps a lot to grow up and to develop better MMA fighters for us.
If you guys get a chance, look look up his highlight video. I found it on the internet. Just type in his name, Google search. He had it was an awesome highlight video, by the way. It's about 8.5 minutes long or something like that.
I'm sorry. He was. I feel so sad to say this way when I talk about you, about me, about him. He was a great fighter.
Hey,
We are old, but listen,
If-
it's guys we can watch over and over again, guys.
if you
Check it out.
If you want to find me and Sergio's highlights, you got to look on a rock wall in a cave. That's where our highlights are.
In the age of ice.
Hey, Cunha, it's very important to say that. Like I had the opportunity to. I'm glad of God to all my coaches, all this generation, because I had the opportunity to fight all over the world, fighting Muay Thai, MMA, and I saw the difference between Curitiba, the clinch, when you hold the head, and then I fought in Thailand. They do always head, arm, and also sometimes body. But when you fight in Holland, you don't clinch. You just throw the knee, keep the clean, high, hands high. But that's the brand, like Curitiba's brand. when you lock the head, when you and
I
in
know
Queens,
because I did this few times.
so many times. That's very important to say because like Holland has the kind of style, kind of school. Thailand has kind of style, but Curitiba has own style, and you prove this work.
That's good. I will be honest with you. Sometimes I clinch those guys because they was beating me up. Kicking my legs, punching my face. Damn, stop to hit me. Then I clinch and when I hold these guys hard.
Yeah.
And I got my, when you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. When you put the guy where you want to be, and you make space, you just think, now you're gonna pay. Now you're gonna pay. How you wanna hit me? Take that, take this. No, that was my feeling.
Yeah.
You guys are professional fighters too. You know what I'm talking about.
When you watch back the days for the Cunha's fights, like you start at the beginning, but soon he clinched, we know it's over.
This means it's scared, bro. I gotta finish you now. I fought against a guy. I remember this guy from São Paulo, super tall. He was a police officer, older. I was a young boy. This is the worst day of my life. I was like 17, maybe 17 years old. I bring my first girlfriend to watch my fight, and she was in the front, in the first seat, ringside.
Was she your girlfriend after the fight?
She's still. But look, start the fight. First thing that the guy showed me a 2, 3, and pow, a big kick on me. I just remember just ugh. And I just feel that when I look for my girlfriend. My girlfriend was already in the first 10 seconds of the fight crying.
Oh.
"Ah." I said, damn, why did I bring this girl here? I said, I can't lose this fight.
Oh,
I
man.
can't lose. Then I clinched this guy. This was in 89. In 89 or 90. Then I clinched this guy, I fought one knee, he was tall. I fought one knee and he felt my knee and he dropped his head. When he dropped his head, it was elbow. I just did an over the top elbow and I cut his head badly. A bad cut. When I cut his head, I just saw that blood like flying. Then I said, thanks God. I looked to the ref like, hey, we're done here. Then I won that fight. Well, I was lucky. Lucky, and nobody like to lose. And it's nice to hear you talk about this, Katel, because some things, people don't know that. Katel was traveling back and forth also to Europe. He lived in Holland, in Netherlands.
Oh, what a great opportunity.
Yeah, and traveling back and forth. Tell us about that, Katel. That time he was going back and forth for all those countries to compete in Europe.
Yeah, but I come from like Noguchi, my coach, my grandmaster, and he always put me to compete. I always like the kind of he try to make you the best as possible, but fighting, not just training the gym, but you have to apply during the fight. And then that's one of the reasons I went to Thailand. And the other time he started to contact with Golden Glory. Golden Glory is the very traditional kickbox academy in Holland. And when I went there in 2002, I had the opportunity to train with Ramon Decker and the other fighters over there, Shalid and Alistair Overeem and his brother Valentine Overeem. I have so many champions in the gym. Um, and then during this time, I had there one more time. I learned how important I was to train in Curitiba because the school, the way how everybody trained, uh, I couldn't perform so very well. They was very impressed with me. They put me to compete so many times in Holland or in the other countries around. Is because Europe is very small now. Like Holland is small, so it's easy to go to Belgium, go to Luxembourg, go
Mm.
to Switzerland, go to Germany, and then was fighting uh, very often over there. Uh, Besides the sparring, because sparring
Yes.
there,
Besides the fight daily.
to prove. Então, all this experience makes me so happy because like you can see the values or where you come from. Like
Right.
Curitiba is really tough city and high level techniques, not just MMA, not just in Vale Tudo back days, but also in Muay Thai.
Absolutely. And if you thinking about that, if you see
Excuse
the
me.
the the best opportunities, the biggest wins we have in MMA, most of our guys from South, from Curitiba, is using strikes. You
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
clinch and knee, head kicks, elbows. You know, hands, of course.
Yeah.
And this all come from pioneers like Katel Kubis and all those guys, you know, what we did during those years to make new champions.
When you say hands, I remember like when Noguchi said, because we come from Muay Thai, but our school is you can fight boxing, you can fight kickboxing, you can fight any rules on stand up. And that time, like 99, 98, 97, Noguchi started to talk about the boxing. Hey, you guys need to fight more boxing more often and have the Brazilian tournament, has the state tournament, and then you start to travel around the Brazil
Right.
to fight the tournaments to compete boxing.
Yeah.
And that says amateur. And then one day he said, "Oh, you have one guy to fight next week."
Next week.
Next week. Okay. How many rounds? No, it's eight rounds.
Oh my
Eight
God.
rounds.
Next week.
Muay Thai is 5 rounds. It's a lot of fight, a lot of rounds. And that time, how I debut on professional boxing.
That's
Oh,
good.
wow.
That's good.
Brazil in shape.
Yeah, and you know,
Holy
yeah,
smokes.
you know, Katel, good you talk about this because you can remember in memory of our great and good friend Osmar Diaz. You know,
Osmar Diaz.
Osmar was a good guy. He passed away almost 18 years ago, I guess. Was our dear friend, you know, and Osmar was one of those guys who fight. As Katel said, Osmar was straight. Osmar Diaz was straight from Noguchi's. Grandmaster Noguchi too was a fantastic guy, a fantastic fighter. And he was one of our guys who fight more boxing, right, Katel? Osmar.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, a lot. And he was one division before, because Osmar is my generations before Catel. And he always was one division under mine. So always before my fighters in Muay Thai, he fight before me. So we trained together. But he was a guy like that. He have that feel too.
Yeah.
You know, we gotta train more boxing. So if he's not fighting Muay Thai, he was fighting boxing.
Yeah.
You know, was a great
I
friend.
think it's super valuable.
Yeah,
A lot of people,
yeah.
because the difference in the hand techniques in Muay Thai and boxing, they vary greatly, you know. And then there's a lot of guys out there that I can think of, like Damian Trainer does a really good job putting his hands and his feet together with the sweeps, with the more technical aspects of Muay Thai.
Absolutely.
Like just, I mean, off the top of my head, who I can think of, Ramon Deckers.
Ramon Deckers,
obviously,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, what an experience to
I bet.
Like, oh,
oh,